Howdy guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether y'all are watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I'm glad you're here. Today is going to be halfway through case number 4, the final Apache case. And this is video 3 of 4, so there'll be this one and one more. Then we'll be done with all the cases, all the slip joints. The only thing left will be all the fixed blades. And we'll kind of run through those in little digestible chunks. But real quickly, I just want to say thank you to all the channel members. Thank you. And thank you for anybody who's coming in to check out my knife, my ADC content. I really appreciate you guys. So this is about halfway through the case. None of these are in any particular order because this is kind of the overflow case. And this is the Vosteed Nightshade, the mini Nightshade. I had the full-size Nightshade. It was given away in a Friday Night Flicks. But I love this little light, minimalistic Shetland Cutler style blade. It is, again, the mini Nightshade. It's in 14C 28N. It's got red accents, black G10, real light liners, red thumb studs. Great reverse flick knife, great thumb flick knife. It's an axis lock. And Vosteed, I think I mentioned with the Dachshund and some of the others, does axis locks as well as anybody, if not better. Guys, this knife is a slicer. That Shetland blade just pulls the material in. Super thin, tall, flat grind. That's cutter error on my part. But very, very tall, flat grind, super thin behind the edge. I want to say this knife is a laser beam. Let's just real quickly, and we won't do this on all of them. But let's see, this blade stock is going to be really thin at 0.0990. Behind the edge, it's going to clock in at 0.0185. The handle is going to be well under ½ an inch, I would guess, at 0.41. And while I'm doing measurements, since this is the mini, I think it's going to be kind of bug out sized. I think we're going to find this is going to be larger than a mini bug out. Well, probably going to be between this and the mini bug out. Yeah. So it is a smaller knife. It's just got a nice sized handle. So it's going to clock in right under 6 3/4 inches with a 2 1/4 inch blade, give or take, and a 2.5 inch cutting area. You got your plunge grind coming pretty close to that sharpening choil there, but you've got a couple of good sharpenings. You've got a very stiff, I say stiff, you've got a very sturdy axis lock or bar style lock. Again, the detent on this knife is kind of next level and doesn't bounce back when you go to close it as I fail it. So if I was holding this knife vertically and just pull back on those bars, it's going to fall right in place. And that is the Vosteed Mini Nightshade hanging out in case number 4, and we will keep moving. Next we have a really, really interesting, cool fighting knife from Taichung, Taiwan. It's a Spyderco Hua-2. The Hua-2 is a killer knife, a knife that I'd wanted for a really long time when I first started collecting. It's got a splintered digger point. It's got some kind of design fighter history. You can see that you've got this jimping right here, and you've got this really neutral handle. No jimping on the blade, but it gives you a great place to hold and force that blade forward. It is therapeutically slicey. I've never sharpened it, and I've cut a lot of cardboard with it. I want to say it's S30V. 20 CV. And Taichung, Taiwan, I love Golden Colorado Spydercos. I have more of them. But Taichung, Taiwan Spydercos are some of my favorites. The Smock, the Sage 5, the Watu, another one we got coming up here in a second that's very unique. But just a great knife. 20 CV, compression lock. The only thing that I'm not a huge fan of are all the Taichung, Taiwan scales. I think you can get scales for these if you're creative and you've got a little bit of cash. I love the wire clip. I love the thin profile. It clocks in right at I'm going to call it 7 1/4 inches, even though it's a little bit bigger. 7 1/4 inches with a 3 1/4 inch blade, 2 5/8 cutting area, and where I like to grip it to that choil is we're going to call it 4 1/8, and that's a healthy 4 1/8 where you've really got 4 1/4. You've got a reversible wire clip. You've got this just sweet washer action, snappy deployment. Whether you thumb flick it, which I don't, or you choose to middle finger flick it, the Spyderco Watu is a uniquey. I'm a big fan. It's kind of aggressive, and it's also very EDC friendly. Moving on, we come one of the best value knives in my collection. This is a knife that I've often thought about giving away. I gave away its sibling, which was the Meerkat. The Black Mare is staying with me. This knife was $142 in the raw titanium. If I'd added $6, I could have had carbon fiber inserts, but I didn't want that. M390, nice reverse tanto sheep's footy blade. Therapeutically slicey. The best value, or one of the best values in my collection. Just an absolute shredder. Has fantastic lock bar access. It's running on skiffs. It was fine on its own bearings. Got a really nice pocket clip. Unlike the Meerkat, they didn't replace it, but Maxace showed their flex when they went ahead and replaced those pocket clips after Jared's observation of how it's hard to get in and out of pocket. This knife is not hard to get in and out of pocket. It is a medium-sized knife, a small medium size. So if we were going to put it up against the bug out just for a size comparison, it's going to be right around the same length as the bug out. Will be a little bit thicker because it's titanium, full slabs of titanium. But this guy weighs in at 7 1/2 inches. With a 3 1/4 inch blade, 3 inch cutting area, really a 3 1/8. Really nice sharpening choil. You got your plunge grind way back here. You've got a nice handle if you want to keep this inside handle to 3 1/2 inches, 3 1/2 inches to right here. You do have this jimping, which allows you to choke up if you want to. I feel comfortable choking up. And again, guys, this thing is tall, thin, Bowler M390, flat grind, and it's just a laser beam. Great action, flipper only, or blade hole deployment only. So that is a Black Ace mirror. And moving along, we come to that other very unique and odd Spyderco I told you about that I also got early on in my knife collecting. This is also a Taichung, Taiwan Spyderco. And you can tell it's a Spyderco because it's got the blade hole. And you're thinking, John, that's not a blade hole, that's a hole in the handle. It's actually the blade hole, because the blade, which is a Japanese style blade, disappears completely in the handle. So it's a compression lock, perfect gentleman's folder. You have no blade exposed. You have this little flipper roller tab and a wire clip that is reversible. The roller tab is next level because it gives me a full-size knife with a very sharp, pokey splinter digger point. A super thin, super thin, I think this one is S30V. Super thin S30V. I want to say she's S30V, but since I've got old eyes, CPM S30V. So we definitively know it's S30V. I was talking about a knife earlier. I forget which one it was. It was a Strix. I called it M390. It is actually MagnaCut. Shame on me, but I put it in the description. This knife, guys, is pokey, utility cutty. Somebody come for your Slurpee. And it's a slicer. Be a great gentleman's folder. Be a great, not that I'd ever pull out a pocket knife for a steak dinner, but it would make for a great steak knife. Very slicey, therapeutically slow. And this is the Spyderco Akushi, another Taichung Taiwan, another one I think would be really easy to find somebody to make some scales for. I probably need to search Etsy and just see, because both those knives would be great with scale upgrades. Perfectly centered. You got the blade hole that carries through the handles, blade hole when it deploys, compression lock, just a winner. Moving on, we come to a knife that I really like, but I don't carry nearly enough. This is my OG, original. Picked it up from Lefty EDC because the detent was a little light for him. This is Bearded Gear, Brother Jake's Lift Avant, or Avant. I don't know if this one changed names too, but this one is in micarta, OEM by Riot. Very thin liners, very light package. We will even break the scale out on this one. It is M390. It has some of the best cutting geometry. It's got this nice belly up front. If you're going to use this to do any type of roll cuts or any type of skinning, or if you're going to use that point to roll through anything. That didn't work well. Or stab stuff. Very utilitarian blade. I like the drop point. I like the aggressive drop. It is on skiffs. It was just like this before skiffs. Drop shutty, low profile, flipper tab that has Avant's logo on it. Push the liner out of the way, falls to my thumb, falls shut. The micarta handles are done very well. They've aged fantastically. This knife is inspired by the PM2 amongst other things, but as you'll see, it's going to be a good bit smaller than the PM2, probably about a ½ inch. So if we put it up against our bug out, we will see that it is about a ½ inch bigger than our bug out. So where it gets impressive is the weight, because it is such a light carry. I love the reversible wire pocket clip. I've turned into a huge fan of wire clips. Matter of fact, this one might need to try some thick washers. 7 3/4 overall. The blade length, I'm going to call it 3 1/4. Cutting edge, right at 3 inches. The handle, micarta handle, is 4 1/2 inches. Where I like to grasp the knife is going to be about 4 1/4. And that 4 1/4 is me holding it right here. I like to have my middle fingers in this area right here. I like to have my front finger floating, and I like to use that very nice finger stop harpoon to keep my hand from sliding up on the blade. And it is an absolute winner. I'm a huge fan of this knife. I wish I carried it more. It's in the overflow case, so I guess I'm blessed that I carry more knives than I know what to do with. I love all of them. But this guy comes in at 3.10 ounces. For those of you that are inch and ounce guys, this one's going to fall under that threshold. but still feel like a substantial knife because it's not super thin. It's got nice titanium liners, top-notch materials, top-notch hollow ground blade. Riot knocked it out of the park, and I'm just a big fan. So that is the Avant, the Avant, Luftkonzepts Avant. Moving on, we come to an OG Gentleman Kaiser. This is the Kaiser S35VN Clutch. This is a knife I picked up on Amazon. It was one of my favorites because I used to be a flipper only guy, and this is a gentleman's folder extraordinaire. It is titanium with carbon fiber inserts, and they are symmetrical. You do have this bolster lock or this recessed frame lock. You've got the flipper tab that I can light switch it. I can push button it. It flies out. You've got this reverse Tanto sheep's footy blade that is very slicey. And for an office knife or a gentleman's folder, it is just great. Or for those of you strange people who like to take your steak knives out to dinner with you, no harm, no foul, no judgment. But it is that good of a knife. It is slicey. I will see if they still have these on Amazon where I got this, and I'll leave a link for it if they do, because I want to say this was like $155. It's out of production. You've got a fantastic sharpening choil. Again, you've got S35VN blade steel. It is a collaboration. Get my CountyCom Exceed or Excel. Is that a collaboration with? Hold on a second. Let me get it under the light. Can y'all see that? Let's see if I can get it where y'all can see it. I can't make it out, but it looks like it's something. It's a collaboration with somebody. You might recognize their maker's mark. You might not. To me, it's insignificant. It's got a great pocket clip. Titanium goes in and out of pocket fantastically well. Drop shutty, and the finger tab will keep it from slamming on your finger. So you can literally put your finger right in there. And again, the blade almost completely disappears in the handle. Great blade to handle ratio. Fantastic knife. Gentleman's folder. The Kaiser clutch. It is a winner. It stayed in my collection now for coming on 3 years, and I don't see it going anywhere. Moving on, we'll come to the Concept Bulldozer. This is a knife I traded with Dark Gravity. It was kind of a special knife that he picked up. It is a unique knife in that it's a front flipper only, and you guys know that I'm not a huge front flipper fan. However, this one does have the highly pronounced front flipper tab that allows you to really snap it there without much thought. But what I like about this one is it's got the black treated blade, and it's got so much blade area exposed that I can easily flick it open as I fail it. Flick it open from that blade. It is titanium, and it has the only knife that has Damascus that I own. It's got a Damascus clip, and it's got Damascus pivot collars. It's got this nice black wash 20 CV blade. And guys, it has got a super tall, slicey flat grind. I don't know if you'd call this a sheep's cleaver. I don't know if you'd call it, you know, you could call it whatever you'd really like. I could stab it into somebody if they were coming after my Slurpee. Not what its ideal setup is. It's more of a slicer. And boy, does it slice. It also, the clip works very well. It goes in and out of pocket like a dream. It has skiffs in it as I fail it. Has skiffs in it. Was great before it had skiffs in it. The flipper action on it's fantastic. It doesn't have a late lockup, so once you get it started, it's going to fall shut. Kind of with the hydraulic little drop there. But you've got nice jimping on the blade that translates into this flip and also into when you hold the knife, whether you choke up on it or whether you sit back on it. You do have a nice sharpening tool here with several nice sharpenings. You've got the Concept logo. You've got Bulldozer written on it and the serial number. Don't ask me why. And 20 CV, the blade steel. I like it. I like the flash of Timascus and the anodized hardware. But this is the Concept Bulldozer. So moving on, we come to another OG knife of mine that will always stay in my collection. It's a Matthew Christensen design. Might be one of his first designs. This is the OG Critical. Y'all might have seen the little Micarta Critical. They came out with the Holy Critical. They came out with all these little, medium-sized Critical. Well, I'm here to tell you that this is the Critical. The Critical is a full-sized effing knife that is every bit 8 3/4 inches long with a over 3.5 inch blade, 3.5 inch cutting area. Where I hold it, you got 4 inches. If you hold it inside here, like a sissy, you've got 3.5. You've got a super sharpening choil here. Titanium, S35, VN. Thumb studs. Drop shut action. Frame lock. Nice little lanyard hole and back spacer with very aggressive jimping. But it's a cutting tool on top of everything else. It's a very sharp and slicey and capable cutting tool. I love this knife, guys. I've given away 2 Criticals. One was about $120. The other one I think was $90. One was 3V. The other one, I can't remember the blade steel, but it had a blade hole in it, and it had a flipper that you could remove that was pretty cool. But this is the OG. You can't find this anymore. Unless you find it on the secondary. I don't even have a problem with the speed holes because that's how they used to do weight relief. I love the sandblasted blade. I love the fact that the detent ball does not get in the way. The detent ball and the lock face are what is responsible for the action that we all either love or hate in our knives, depending on how they perform. It's not nearly as much on the bearings as you think. It's mainly on the pressure and how that lock bar and that detent ball work into place. But that's the Kaiser Critical, full size, fantastic knife. I wish I carried it more, but it is a lifer and it is a keeper. Now we come to a couple of odd ones. We come to one of my first over $100 purchases. I picked this up here in town when I was first starting to get into the knife game down at St. Nick's Knives. You can tell I've sharpened it a bunch of different ways till Sunday. It's just a little spear point, little dagger point, little California legal poker, or golf tool, or, just jabby stabby tool. It's got, made by ProTech, because this is before Kershaw brought their out the sides in-house. So you got the American flag. It is an American-made knife, CPM 154. Has a lot of blade profile or blade billboarding on it, but a very stiff spring. I like to operate these with 2 hands. However, I always like to do it with 1 hand, so that's kind of an oxymoron. I should operate it with 2 hands, but I like to operate it with 1. And all of my out the sides work very well with 1. The Kershaw is no exception. Even though it's a smaller knife, I think it makes it a little easier. You've got a full deep carry clip here. Real small package. So this little guy closed up is going to come in right at 3 1/4. That's 3 1/8. Yeah, right at 3 1/8. And then you open her up. And you've got a little knife. I'm not measuring the clip, which does protrude out a little past the butt of the knife. I'm going to call this a 5-inch knife, a 2-inch blade, all of which is cutting area. And then you've got a handle that comes in right at 3 inches. I hold it right there. There's not a whole lot to keep you from running up on the blade unless you just hold it and maybe put your pinky behind it. And like I say, you're only going to need a couple of fasties to deter anyone who's trying to steal your Slurpee. But the little Kershaw launch number 9, I think it is a fantastic one, and it's our next to last. This knife didn't really fit anywhere else, but I wanted to show it. I wanted to have it in this box number 5. This is one of my little Amazon wins. I need to put a new blade in it. It's starting to get some rust on that blade. But it is a titanium little frame lock that I picked up from Amazon for right around, I want to say 50 or 60 bucks. All you got to do is remove this little finger wheel. And I can slide that rusty blade out. I can put back in my little finger wheel till I get another blade. But what you'll notice is you've got a detent ball. You've got fantastic action, flipper only, but it's snappy as it can be. Very functional titanium pocket clip. If I was going to put a blade in it, which I will, might as well. Let's put a carbon steel blade in it. See what that does. Although this case I always fumble with, I'm afraid I'm going to cut my hand off one day. So that's another thing I kind of recklessly buy, are different types of utility blades that I never use, but that I put in my knives. So we're going to try this carbon steel blade. We're going to slide it in right between there. This one is not going to want to work. I can tell you right now because the blade is coming up too high. So let me show you how we remedied that. We put this right back in here. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Because I think it's called an SK5 blade that we need. And I don't know if these are SK5s, but I know if I walk to the other side of the room, I will have them. This is a 50 pack. And this is one that I know I have trouble opening. Let's see. Let's try to slide that out like that. That looks deeper. Those look like they're going to work just fine. So we're going to take that blade, slide it in. You'll notice now I have no obstruction through my hole. So I can screw back in and hand tighten my blade. I've got no wiggle there. If I wanted to, I could torque down this T6, but I don't need to because the blade's not going anywhere. It's held into those channels. Totally disappears in the handle. Flips like a dream. It is a utility blade, so it's going to be great for cutting carpet, cutting roof, cutting anything you need it to cut, right? And then when you're done with it, you just get another blade. But this little knife, I found it kind of elegant. It was around 50 or 60 bucks. They're still available on Amazon, and I will leave a link. But you've got a inserted steel lock bar. You've got pass-through for your lock release. You've got that really easy blade removal. But you want to get SK5 blades. These are just regular blades, and as you'll notice, they don't say SK5. So where they differ, as a lot of blades, I had a young man reach out to me after I did a review on this knife a long time ago, but you'll notice that even though they're the same size, you are shallower on that side right there. So your screw doesn't pass through right. And you've also got another way that it mounts on some other outdoorsy tools or construction tools. Great blades. They work on some of my knives. They work on my Amsler tools, and I really like them. But guys, this is a great little knife. I forget if it's I can't pronounce it, Aihu or Arahu, but I'll put it in the description of this video. Guys, I hope y'all appreciated this. I hope you don't find it too boring. I'm noticing that these videos, a lot of people don't watch them. So y'all leave me a comment if they're boring. I've got other stuff, other content I could put out. I just figured it might be something that at least put in a playlist. It might be helpful, might be entertaining, might be something you guys liked. But again, if it's not something, if it's something that y'all dread when it comes out in the mornings, I do not want it to be like that. I want the content that I put out to reflect what you guys want to see within reason, if I've got it. If not, I can probably borrow it. But yeah, this is video number 3. One more to go in case number 4, which is my final Apache case. We've done our slip joints. We slipped them in there, no pun intended. And we've got, after this, a whole bunch of different fixed blades. And I will break those out in bite-sized chunks because those knives need to all be talked about. There's a story behind all of them. And again, I was never a fixed blade guy, so I think that makes it even kind of cooler because now I really appreciate fixed blades. But do me a favor, look out for the guy or gal to your left. Look out for the guy or gal to your right. Look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart. If you haven't had a chance yet, please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon. It would really help me out. And please, choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.